Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. In this video, we will be covering some important topics and questions related to those topics of the AZ-900 exam. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our other practice questions through the link down in the description. We here have more than 30 plus certifications and are here to help you achieve your certification goals. We will try to answer all of your doubts related to the AZ-900 exam, such as the exam does not have lab type questions, it does not have case study type questions either. The exam duration is 120 minutes in which you have to answer 40 to 60 questions. The minimum passing score is 700 out of 1000. There is no negative marking in the exam. This certification will be valid for a lifetime after you earn it. About the exam renewal process, it is not required. This is a tutorial video for the AZ-900 exam and contains some practice questions. These are the topics that we will be covering in this video. However, these are not all the topics that will be coming in the exam. As such, we will be publishing more parts in this series in the future. So please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. To our first topic, cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Simply put, cloud computing is the delivery of computing services, including servers, storage, databases, networking, software, analytics, and intelligence over the internet to offer faster innovation, flexible resources, and economies of scale. You typically pay only for cloud services you use, helping you lower your operating costs, run your infrastructure more efficiently, and scale as your business needs change. Types of cloud computing, we have four main types: private cloud, public cloud, hybrid cloud, and community cloud. Here, through this graphic, you can get an overview of different types of cloud computing. About these types in detail, public cloud. These are owned and operated by third party cloud service providers, which deliver computing resources like servers and storage over the internet. Microsoft Azure is an example of a public cloud. With a public cloud, all hardware, software, and other supporting infrastructure is owned and managed by the cloud provider. You access these services and manage your account using a web browser. About private cloud, it refers to cloud computing resources used exclusively by a single business or organization. Private cloud can be physically located on the company's on site data center. Some companies also pay third party service providers to host their private cloud. Private cloud is one in which the services and infrastructure are maintained on a private network. In a hybrid cloud, it combines public and private clouds bound together by technology that allows data and applications to be shared between them. By allowing data and applications to move between private and public clouds, a hybrid cloud gives your business greater flexibility and more deployment options and helps optimize your existing infrastructure, security, and compliance. About community cloud, a community cloud is a cloud infrastructure in which multiple organizations share resources and services based on common operational and regulatory requirements. The concept of a community cloud is akin to a community garden, where different individuals grow produce on a single piece of shared land. Community clouds are a recent phenomenon compared to other cloud models such as public, private, and hybrid cloud. To the questions related to the same topic, question 1. What are two characteristics of the public cloud? Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. Here, the two characteristics of the public cloud are metered pricing and self-service management. That is, the correct options are D and E. With the public cloud, you get pay as you go pricing. You pay only for what you use, no capex costs. With the public cloud, you have self service management. You are responsible for the deployment and configuration of the cloud resources such as virtual machines or websites. The underlying hardware that hosts the cloud resources is managed by the cloud provider. Question 2. You have an on premises network that contains 100 servers. You need to recommend a solution that provides additional resources to your users. The solution must minimize capital and operational expenditure costs. What should you include in the recommendation? Here in this question, we have an on premises network with 100 servers. We want a solution that provides additional resources as well as minimizes capital and operational expenditure cost. As such, we should go with a hybrid cloud. Thus, the correct option is D. A hybrid cloud is a combination of a private cloud and a public cloud. Capital expenditure is the spending of money upfront for infrastructure such as new servers. With a hybrid cloud, you can continue to use the on premises servers while adding new servers in the public cloud. Adding new servers in Azure minimizes the capital expenditure costs as you are not paying for new servers as you would if you deployed new servers on premises. Question 3. You plan to migrate several servers from an on premises network to Azure. What is an advantage of using a public cloud service for the servers over an on premises network? Here in this question, as we plan to migrate several on premises servers to Azure, we have to choose an advantage of using a public cloud service. The advantage of using a public cloud service is that the public cloud is a shared entity whereby multiple corporations each use a portion of the resources in the cloud. Thus, the correct option is D. The public cloud is a shared entity whereby multiple corporations each use a portion of the resources in the cloud. The hardware resources are managed by the cloud provider. Multiple companies create resources such as virtual machines and virtual networks on the hardware resources. Question 4. In which type of cloud model are all the hardware resources owned by a third party and shared between multiple tenants? Here, the situation described in this question fits in the public cloud model. Thus, the correct option is C. Private cloud is taken care of by the internal organization to which it belongs. Public cloud is entirely taken care of by third party such as Azure, AWS, or GCP. Hybrid cloud is a combination of on premises as well as public cloud. Question 5, hotspot. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, an organization that hosts its infrastructure dash no longer requires a data center. Here in this question, according to the statement, the correct option is in the public cloud. A public cloud is hosted externally. For example, in Microsoft Azure, an organization that hosts its infrastructure in a public cloud can close its data center. Public cloud is the most common deployment model. In this case, you have no local hardware to manage or keep up to date. Everything runs on your cloud provider's hardware. Microsoft Azure is an example of a public cloud provider. In a private cloud, you create a cloud environment in your own data center and provide self service access to compute resources to users in your organization. This offers a simulation of a public cloud to your users, but you remain completely responsible for the purchase and maintenance of the hardware and software services you provide. Question 6, hotspot. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, an Azure web app that queries an on premises Microsoft SQL server is an example of a dash cloud. Here in this question, as we have a web app that is querying an on premises Microsoft SQL server, the correct option is hybrid cloud. Hybrid cloud, sometimes called a cloud hybrid, is a computing environment that combines an on premises data center with a public cloud, allowing data and applications to be shared between them. Some people define hybrid cloud to include multi cloud configurations where an organization uses more than one public cloud in addition to their on premises data center. To the next topic, types of cloud services. Most cloud computing services fall into four broad categories. We have infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, serverless, software as a service. These are sometimes called the cloud computing stack because they build on top of one another. Knowing what they are and how they are different makes it easier to accomplish your business goals. Here in this graphic, you can see a basic overview of the cloud computing stack. At the very base, we have infrastructure as a service, then we have platforms as a service, and then we have software as a service. Let's discuss these in detail. First, we have infrastructure as a service, the most basic category of cloud computing services. With infrastructure as a service, you rent IT infrastructure, servers and virtual machines, storage networks, operating systems from a cloud provider on a pay as you go basis. Then we have platform as a service. It refers to cloud computing services that supply an on demand environment for developing, testing, delivering, and managing software applications. Platform as a service is designed to make it easier for developers to quickly create web or mobile apps without worrying about setting up or managing the underlying infrastructure of servers, storage, network, and databases needed for development. Then we have serverless. Overlapping with platform as a service, Serverless computing focuses on building app functionality without spending time continually managing the servers and infrastructure required to do so. The cloud provider handles the setup, capacity planning, and server management for you. Serverless architectures are highly scalable and event driven, only using resources when a specific function or trigger occurs. And then we have software as a service. It is a method for delivering software applications over the internet, on demand, and typically on a subscription basis. With SaaS, cloud providers host and manage the software application and underlying infrastructure and handle any maintenance like software upgrades and security patching. Users connect to the application over the internet, usually with a web browser on their phone, tablet, or PC. To the questions related to the same topic, question 7. You are tasked with deploying Azure virtual machines for your company. You need to make use of the appropriate cloud deployment solution. Solution. You should make use of software as a service. Does the solution meet the goal? Here in this question, we are meant to choose the appropriate cloud deployment solution for deploying virtual machines. As such, software as a service is not the correct solution. Thus, the correct option is B. Keyword here is virtual machine. Then we should go with infrastructure as a service. Question 8. You are tasked with deploying Azure virtual machines for your company. You need to make use of the appropriate cloud deployment solution. Solution. You make use of platform as a service. Does the solution meet the goal? Here in this question, we are meant to deploy Azure virtual machines. As such, platform as a service is not the correct solution. Thus, the correct option is B. Again, virtual machines are deployed in infrastructure as a service. Question 9. You are tasked with deploying Azure virtual machines for your company. You need to make use of the appropriate cloud deployment solution. Solution. You should make use of infrastructure as a service. Does the solution meet the goal? Here in this question, as we are meant to deploy Azure virtual machines using infrastructure as a service is the correct solution. Thus, the correct option is A. Virtual machines and Azure storage accounts is infrastructure as a service. Text to refer under infrastructure as a service. Azure virtual machines are fully operational virtual computer devices running in Microsoft data centers. Question 10. Your company plans to migrate all its data and resources to Azure. Company's migration plan states that only platform as a service solutions must be used in Azure. You need to deploy an Azure environment that meets the company migration plan. Solution. You create an Azure app service and Azure SQL databases. Does this meet the goal? Here in this question, the company is planning to migrate all its data and resources to Azure and will only use platform as a service solution. Thus, using Azure App Services and Azure SQL database is the correct solution. As such, the correct option is A. Azure App Service and Azure SQL databases are examples of Azure Platform as a Service solutions. Therefore, this solution does meet the goal. Question 11. You plan to migrate a web application to Azure. The web application is accessed by external users. You need to recommend a cloud deployment solution to minimize the amount of administrative effort used to manage the web application. What should you include in the recommendation? Here in this question, we are planning to migrate a web application to Azure that will be accessed by external users, and we need a solution that will minimize the amount of administrative effort used to manage the web application. As such, the most appropriate recommendation is platform as a service. Thus, the correct option is B. The keywords are migrate and administration. Azure App Service is a platform as a service offering that lets you create a web and mobile apps for any platform or device and connect to data anywhere in the cloud or on premises. App Service includes the web and mobile capabilities that were previously delivered separately as Azure Websites and Azure Mobile. Question 12. Hotspot. Which cloud deployment solution is used for Azure virtual machines and Azure SQL databases? To answer, select the appropriate option in the answer area. Note, each correct selection is worth 1 point. To the answer area, Azure virtual machines. Here, Azure virtual machines come under the infrastructure as a service cloud deployment. To the next statement, Azure SQL databases. Here, Azure SQL databases comes under the platform as a service cloud deployment. About the answers, box 1. Azure virtual machines are infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service is the most flexible category of cloud services. It aims to give you complete control over the hardware that runs your application. Instead of buying hardware with IaaS, you rent it. To the next answer, box 2. Azure SQL databases are platform as a service. Azure SQL database is a fully managed platform as a service database engine that handles most of the database management functions such as upgrading, patching, backups, and monitoring without user involvement. Azure SQL database is always running on the latest stable version of SQL Server Database Engine and patched OS with 99.99% availability. Platform as a service capabilities that are built in into Azure SQL database enable you to focus on the domain specific database administration and optimization activities that are critical for your business. Question 13. Hotspot. To complete the sentence, select the appropriate option in the answer area. To the answer area, when you are implementing a software as a service solution, you are responsible for here, when implementing a software as a service solution, we are responsible for Configuring the SaaS solution. When you are implementing a software as a service solution, you are responsible for configuring the SaaS solution. Everything else is managed by the cloud provider. SaaS requires the least amount of management. The cloud provider is responsible for managing everything, and the end user just uses the software. SaaS allows users to connect to and use cloud based apps over the internet. Common examples are email, calendaring, and office tools. SaaS provides a complete software solution which you purchase on a pay as you go basis from a cloud service provider. You rent the use of an app for your organization and your users connect to it over the internet, usually with a web browser. All of the underlying infrastructure, middleware, app software, and app data are located in the service provider's data center. The service provider manages the hardware and software, and with the appropriate service agreement, will ensure the availability and the security of the app and your data as well. To the miscellaneous questions. Question 14. Your company has data centers in Los Angeles and New York. The company has a Microsoft Azure subscription. You are configuring the two data centers as geo-clustered sites for site resiliency. You need to recommend an Azure storage redundancy option. You have the following data storage requirements. Data must be stored on multiple nodes. Data must be stored on nodes in separate geographic locations. Data can be read from the secondary location as well as from the primary location. Which of the following Azure stored redundancy options should you recommend? Here in this question, while configuring the two data centers as geo-clustered sites for site resiliency, our data storage requirements are that data must be stored on multiple nodes in separate geographic locations, and that data can be read from the secondary location as well as from the primary location. Considering these requirements, the most appropriate option is read only geo redundant storage. Thus, the correct option is B. RAGRS allows you to have higher read availability for your storage account by providing read only access to the data replicated to the secondary location. Once you enable this feature, the secondary location may be used to achieve higher availability in the event the data is not available in the primary region. This is an opt in feature which requires the storage account to be geo replicated. Question 15. Your developers have created 10 web applications that must be hosted on Azure. You need to determine which Azure web tier plan to host the web apps. The web tier plan must meet the following requirements. The web apps will use custom domains. The web apps each require 10 GB of storage. The web apps must each run in dedicated compute instances. Load balancing between instances must be included. Costs must be minimized. Which web tier plan should you use? Here in this question, Here in this question, we have 10 web applications to host on Azure, and we need to determine the best Azure web tier plan based on requirements such as that the web apps will use custom domains and each web app will require 10 GB of storage and each must run in dedicated compute instances. Also, load balancing between instances must be included and costs must be minimized. Considering these requirements, the most appropriate web tier plan is standard. As such, the correct option is A. The web apps will use custom domain. Basic, shared, and standard support custom domain. The web apps each require 10 GB of storage. Basic and standard support this. The web apps must each run in dedicated compute instances. Basic supports 3 instances max, where standard supports 10 max. Load balancing between instances must be included. Standard and above tier only support load balancing slash autoscaling. Costs must be minimized. Standard is less costlier than premium and isolated. Question 16. Your company has virtual machines hosted in Microsoft Azure. The VMs are located in a single Azure virtual network named VNet1. The company has users that work remotely. The remote workers require access to the VMs on VNet1. You need to provide access for the remote workers. What should you do? Here in this question, we need to provide users with the access to the virtual machines on VNet1. As such, we should configure a point to site VPN. Thus, the correct option is C. A point to site VPN gateway connection lets you create a secure connection to your virtual network from an individual client computer. Question 17. You have an on premises network that contains several servers. You plan to migrate all servers to Azure. You need to recommend a solution to ensure that some of the servers are available if a single Azure data center goes offline for an extended period. What should you include in the recommendation? Here in this question, we want to migrate our several servers on an on-premises network to Azure, and we need to ensure that some of the servers will still be available if a single Azure data center goes offline. As such, we should include fault tolerance in the recommendation. Thus, the correct option is A. Fault tolerance is the ability of a system to continue to function in the event of a failure of some of its components. In this question, you could have servers that are replicated across data centers. Availability zones expand the level of control you have to maintain the availability of the applications and data on your virtual machines. Availability zones are unique physical locations within an Azure region. Each zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. To ensure resiliency, there are a minimum of 3 separate zones in all enabled regions. The physical separation of availability zones within a region protects applications and data from data center failures. With availability zones, Azure offers industry's best 99.99% virtual machine uptime SLA. By architecting your solutions to use replicated virtual machines in zones, you can protect your applications and data from the loss of a data center. If one zone is compromised, then replicated apps and data are instantly available in another zone. Question 18. Your company hosts an accounting application named App 1 that is used by all the customers of the company. App 1 has low usage during the first 3 weeks of each month and very high usage during the last week of each month. Which benefit of Azure Cloud Services supports cost management for this type of usage pattern? Here in this question, we have an accounting application that has low usage during the first 3 weeks and a very high usage during the last week of each month. As such, cost management for this type of usage pattern is supported by elasticity. Thus, the correct option is C. Elasticity, in this case, is the ability to provide additional compute resource when needed and reduce the compute resource when not needed to reduce costs. Autoscaling is an example of elasticity. Elastic computing is the ability to quickly expand or decrease computer processing, memory, and storage resources to meet changing demands without worrying about capacity planning and engineering for peak usage. Typically controlled by system monitoring tools, elastic computing matches the amount of resources allocated to the amount of resources actually needed without disrupting operations. With cloud elasticity, a company avoids paying for unused capacity or idle resources and doesn't have to worry about investing in the purchase or maintenance of additional resources and equipment. Question 9. You have 1000 virtual machines hosted on the Hyper-V host in a data center. You plan to migrate all the virtual machines to an Azure pay as you go subscription. You need to identify which expenditure model to use for the planned Azure solution. Which expenditure model should you identify? Here in this question, as we are migrating all the 1000 virtual machines to an Azure pay as you go subscription, we will be identifying operational expenditure model to use for the planned Azure solution. Thus, the correct option is A. One of the major changes that you will face when you move from on premises cloud to the public cloud is the switch from capital expenditure to operating expenditure. The switch also requires more careful management of your costs. The benefit of the cloud is that you can fundamentally and positively affect the cost of a service you use by merely shutting down or resizing it when it is not needed. The expenditure models are either CapEx or OpEx. CapEx is what you pay upfront on premises for servers, racks, cooling, security, the data center itself. OpEx is what you pay to keep your infrastructure operational, like IT staff. In this case, when you move to the cloud, what you identify in this case is the OpEx or operational model. This is because you actually don't have capex on the cloud, as you pay for the resource you use and not for the underlying hardware, security, cooling, etc. that you will pay for in an on premise solution. That is why the right answer is operational. Elastic and scalable are not expenditure models. Question 20. You plan to provision infrastructure as a service resource in Azure. Which resource is an example of infrastructure as a service? An Azure virtual machine is an example of infrastructure as a service resource in Azure. Thus, the correct option is B. An Azure virtual machine is an example of infrastructure as a service. Azure Web App, Azure Logic App, and Azure SQL Database are all examples of platform as a service. These were all the questions for this video. You can find the complete PDF of this video and our other practice questions through the link down in the description. Please make sure to subscribe our channel and press the bell icon. Thank you for watching and stay tuned.